It seems to me like Riku from the new Gundam series Gundam Build Divers needs to step up his Gunpla customizing game, as the HGBD Gym III Beam Master is a subpar disappointment of a kit. A lot of time with these build fighters and build diver style kits, it's the older high grade they based the kit on that's the issue, but not this time around. It's the new changes to this Gym 3 that makes the Cheese Master a kit rife with woes. Weak parts mixed with a poor design means that this kit just rains parts every time you try to pose it, and personally, I'm not its friend anymore. But anyway, let's check it out. Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another Gunpla review, and today I'm looking at Yuki's GM3 Beam Master, and of course this is a high grade from Gundam Build Divers. Of course, once again, this video would not be possible if it wasn't for those awesome people over at Hobbylink Japan. So if you want one of these of your own, then check out that link right down there in the description. Now let's get to this. So first, taking a look at the box, there's the front of the box, your standard looking HG Build Divers fare. Pretty cool box art on there. Flipping around to the side, and we've got some info on the weapons. We've got a beam rifle. Unlike the 00 Diver beam sabers, the Changeling Rifle, we've got some more info on that. Looking pretty cool, looks like it can flip around. And we can see up here that we're going to be getting some accessory kits in the future, so there's going to be more armaments for this guy then. Around on the other side, there's the GM Beam Master, a bit of a blurb around it. I'll throw that up on the screen there so you can read that at your own leisure, and this thing will cost you around 1,800 yen, which I guess is standard enough for a build fighters or build divers kit. Let's check what's inside. Excluding the polycaps and the beam sabers, as for runners, we get a grand total of 11 in here. That's 6 from 2011's Gym 3, and 5 new for this kit right here, the Gym 3 Beam Master. So finally, once you get it out of the box and snap together, this is exactly what it will look like. So this is with no extra effort put in, just straight snap together with the stickers. The one thing I can't get over though is it literally looks the color of mature red cheddar. The colors don't translate from the anime whatsoever. I'm not sure if it's just the shade, if the pigment in the plastic is a little bit off, or it's just the general lack of surface detail, but it just has a real cheese-like vibe about it. Not very cool. On top of that, the color accuracy isn't all that great. We've got some large stickers there on the knee sections. Even if you pulled them off better than I did here, I can't see them ever looking that great. There's a criminal lack of build fighter style clear parts. All we get is a lot of these green stickers, those green foil ones like in the back of the head, in the chest, in the front of the head, but what we don't get is some for up here. So if you're not going to be painting it and you're relying on stickers, that's what you're going to get. Also, there's no color in here in the missile pods, but I guess you could just fill that in black panel liner. But the most puzzling aspect about the color on this is these little sections here on the buster binders. In the instructions, anime, everything, those are orange. Why did they go to the bother of making them grey? That's more effort, isn't it? Odd decision, definitely. Honestly, on the whole though, I'm sure with a little bit of effort it won't look too bad, but right out of the box it definitely needs that effort, otherwise it looks kind of on the plain side. As for the articulation, it's exactly what you'd expect from a bulky Federation grunt suit like the Gym 3. So keeping that in mind, the articulation definitely isn't this kit's worst aspect. We've got a standard ball and socket at the neck, a bit of back and forward at the shoulder, not a whole lot, arm all the way up at the shoulder, full rotation at the shoulder, rotation at the upper arm, there is the bend at the elbow. You'll notice that the hands aren't attached, I will get to why later. Pretty much nothing at the waist. It does have a ball joint in there, so if you pull it out somewhat, you do get a bit of back to front, but nothing really. Rotation at the waist there gets a bit blocked by the side skirting and will force that side skirting to go down unless you lift it up a bit, but still you're never going to really get much without it just catching on those all the time. But when you do get it out of the way, you can get that full rotation. The side skirting armor only moves up and down. There is no forward and back because of the type of polycap in there. This does mean that when you're trying to pose the cannons once they're attached onto these buster binders, there's no way to bring them in and out to line up with the hand, so that does get a little bit annoying. These are attached on with these little adapter parts, so these can swing back and forward slightly, and you can attach those on via any of those holes. So like here, here, or here. The front skirt armor flips up, nothing around here at the butt flap, off goes the leg. And speaking of those legs, there they are all the way out to the outside, so not too bad. The kick all the way up to the front. As you can see, this bulky armor gets in the way with the front skirting armor, so you would get more if it wasn't for that, maybe if you go around it like this. But again, just the bulky parts getting in the way. Not much out to the back. Full rotation at the upper thigh. There is the bend at the knee. Nothing crazy, but not too bad. The ankle rifle then is a ball and socket, so you got side to side, full rotation, up and down ever so slightly, and we do have another joint in here which causes it to do this, gives it this little bit of forward motion. Lastly then, around here in the backpack we have this little antenna which can move forward and back, as well as slightly in and out on a ball joint, and a nubbin that does exactly the same thing around here. So you may have noticed up to this point I haven't had the hands or the large missile launchers attached, and the reason is, well, basically, they don't stay attached. So first off, the wrists, they're not the worst, but, well, they're pretty bad. They pop out of there so easily, just the minor, littlest touch, and they will just come out. The reason, I think, is just the design. These two parts here that hold the hand in, as you can see, it doesn't take much to separate that little panel section here down, and that just lets loose of the hand. I've both the polycap parts put in different ways on these, one pointing towards the larger section, the other pointing towards the flatter section, and it makes no difference, they just fall out all the time anyway. And if those hands weren't bad enough, these large missile launchers on the sides are ridiculous. It takes the slightest touch just to knock them out of position or off. No matter what you do, or no matter how hard you press them in there, they just fall off all the time. They are abysmally bad. If you want them to stay on, then you're gonna have to glue them. Personally, I just leave them off. So as for accessories, there's the high-grade Cheese Master with everything that it comes with. So it is worth noting at this point that this is a high grade on the high end of the high-grade price spectrum. At 1,800 yen, it doesn't come with a stand, which is pretty sucky. And also, even though it's not mentioned on the box or anything, there is the full shield from the Gym 3 just in Cheese Master colors. So that's everything, the insignia, the front, the back, as well as the attachment point for the arm, which does attach. So that's pretty cool. After hands, we get a fairly disappointing set of standard holding hands, as well as a single right-hand beam rifle holding hand. As for weapons, we get a set of beam sabers with your standard pink beams, and a fairly standard solid grey beam rifle, which also features this side-to-side moving handle. Last up then, and the main event when it comes to weapons, is the Changeling Rifle. This on its own is pretty cool, featuring a two-handle either side design with this secondary handle that can flip side to side. Basically, we've got two action ends on this. That's that larger rifle and the Gatling Gun section down here. Sadly, the Gatling Gun doesn't feature those cool, clear sections that we see on the box, it's just fairly standard here. But basically, this is two weapons on the same gun. The top one is the one that is active, and to swap them out, you just pull off this section and pop it on the other way around. So it doesn't swing around, you actually have two parts form it. So there it is with the Gatling Gun. However, I will mention that this is a weapon that, in theory, is awesome, but in practice, sucks. It can be held in two ways, like this with two hands, which looks a little bit on the silly side, kind of like he's looking for a well with divining rods. Or it can be attached into the booster binders like this, which makes it a really long, awesome looking gun. But just like I mentioned earlier on, the side skirting armor in here, which this is attached to, doesn't allow for any side to side movement, so all you have is variants of up and down, which means in combination with these shitty wrists, that really means you're in for a whole lot of headaches. So that popped in fine. Now I want to swing this part right here into this hand here. However, this little piece here kind of blocks the way. So we're going to try and squeeze this arm around, even though it doesn't have the best articulation across its chest. And you're going to try and get that into its hand, and oh, what do you know? There it goes. If you try attaching the hand onto the handle first, then attach it into the wrist, you find out that this little piece once again is in the way. So what you have to do is angle it up above that, try and attach that weak wrist on, and then there is literally absolutely no way in hell you're going to get a decent pose out of that. It's always going to look like it's aiming up and awkwardly at that. But you can see on the actual box what they did was detach it from the side skirt armor to hold it at a better pose, so we can try that out. But even if it is holding it in just one hand like it is on the cover of the box, it always only points off into kind of awkward directions. It's always a little bit sideways because the side skirts it's attached to has such limited articulation. It's a little bit wonky. But even if you try to do this, no matter what, the fact that this section right here is always in the way of this hand being held at any angle this way means that that's always going to be in the way. This little handle doesn't rock back and forward at all to allow for that wrist to point outwards. So even after playing buckaroo with this absolute mess of loose parts, but because of that handle, all you're going to get is some weird raised up in the air awkward looking pose. The whole thing in its entirety is just absolutely and utterly awkward. I mean, this is a gym right here that was half baked. But I guess because it's a cheese master, I guess it's just half grilled. So far, out of the 3 Build Divers releases, this one is by far the weakest. Well, that is it for the review, and I guess all I can say is if you absolutely have to have this Gunpla, you're a massive Build Divers fan and you just need the main ones, then I would say in that case, maybe go for it. But if you're just kind of interested, I would say definitely avoid. It's an absolute nightmare and no fun at all. But once again, if you do happen to want one, then you can grab one down at that link in the description at Hobbylink Japan. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time.